Hey guys, Prangell Gaming here and welcome back to another Talk the Ball podcast. It's episode 6 and in today's podcast it's just going to be me. Taylor requested to have a break from the podcast for this episode, so unfortunately you guys are going to be stuck with me throughout. Now, we do have some interesting news coming up, whether that be Harris talking about the signing of George Saville or who we drew in the weird and wonderful, confusing draw of the Carabao Cup. I really don't get every time there is a draw in this cup, there is some sort of mistake and no one knows who each side is playing. It really is a very, very weird way. No one who draws it seems to know what they're doing. I think it's about time we got to figure this stuff out. But before we actually have a look at any of that, if you haven't seen any of the other last 5 podcasts, then go click that I button and you'll be able to catch up with anything you may have missed, along with some of the recent videos I have been making, because as you know, last week I did say I was returning, making quite a few videos for my channel. And if you want to watch last week's, then there will be a link in the description, so just go ahead and click it and catch up with that one if you have missed it. So for this week's podcast, we're going to be starting off by highlighting 3 former players and talking about how well they did this week. The first is going to be David Forde, then we'll move on to Ed Upson, before finally seeing how Adam Smith of Bournemouth did. So, firstly, David Forde endured a difficult weekend as his Cambridge side lost 2-1 as they faced off against Carlisle United. And, well, it is unfortunate for Forde as it is now the 3rd time he has conceded in just only 2 games that he's played for Cambridge, and they are yet to win a match. Very difficult times for the former Millwall legend. Now Upson, he did manage to last up to 59 minutes before he was substituted off the pitch for MK Dons for Ryan Seager in their 1-0 loss to newly promoted Blackpool. Upson has played 3 times for the Dons, with them only winning in the Carabao Cup on penalties to newly promoted Forest Green Rovers. And finally we have Adam Smith, who, unlike the other 2 that played this week, didn't actually start, but like them he did also manage to end up on a defeat as he came on in the final 10 minutes as Bournemouth lost their opening game of the season to West Bromwich Albion. After an interesting week, we have plenty to talk about what happened in and around Millwall. For example, we were drawn away from home to Reading in the Carabao Cup, and that will be a game that no doubt will be a very good contest, with our closer rivals of the league being Reading and obviously Jake Cooper formerly playing of Reading, so it'd be a great opportunity for him to go head to head and see how he can do against his former side. The majority of the news this week is actually coming from the main man, Neil Harris, our manager, as you expect from the majority of the news. He talked about a large number of topics since the past 2 matches we have played, but before we get into anything he has talked about, there is one little bit of news that doesn't actually involve him saying it additionally. And well, that is that Sid Nelson is likely to be loaned out by the end of August, as the Lions have announced that they are open to the idea of Sid departing for a season-long loan as he continues a search to find regular football and obviously try to prove to Neil Harris that he is going to be able to play in a Millwall shirt. Back to Neil Harris and his stories this week, and first he actually talks about Fred. The manager said Fred has a great amount of talent and being able to play in every attacking position possible. Fred is one of the best young talents at the club, and if we nurture him properly, then we have a world-class player. Though against Stevenage he did get an assist, he had plenty of options where he could have done better. He is still young and very much learning. Neil also was quick to praise our new striker, Tom Elliott, saying he scored 2 outstanding goals, but with him and Morrow, if you don't have the service, then they are useless. We need to keep training hard and make sure we can adapt to the style that suits Elliott, as his aggression and power is so important for the team moving forward. After the Bolton game, Harris straight up praised another new signing in George Saville. He said that Wolves were crazy to allow Saville to leave their club, and also added after the Bolton game, Saville was class today, so dominant in the middle of the park. Him and Williams really did a number on Bolton's 3-man midfield, and he's hoping that Saville will continue playing like that. as he really has the quality to do so. The final bit of news from Neil Harris is that he said after the Bolton game that we were the much better side again, and the team deserved to get much more than they did. He said we created more chances and we were far dominant, even getting on the front foot by scoring. I thought we controlled the majority of that match and we were by far the better side in and around the 6-yard box. So following Millwall, you would have known that we've actually gone and played 2 games last week. The first being a Carabao Cup game against League 2 outfit Stevenage, where we did manage to progress to the second round following a double from new boy Tom Elliott. The first was a whipped in ball from Fred where a diving header beat the goalkeeper, and that was the better of the two. And again, his second goal was a header. And well, I say a header, but it kind of just fell off his head after Shane Ferguson whipped it in. And I would say in this match, we were poor in the first half, but we managed to get on the front foot and play much better in the second half. We certainly livened up, and as soon as we scored, we knew the game was ours. Now, before we actually get into the second game, no one got the predictions right. A couple of you did predict the scoreline. The Veggie Tube thought it would be 0-0 and thought we'd go to penalties and win 4-3. Alfie Ross said we'd win 2-1. And finally, Joe Holloway, like me, said that he thought that we would win 3-0. I tell you what, when it was 2-0 and getting close to the end of that game, I really thought we was going to get a third. That was so frustrating that we didn't. I really expected us to go and get the right scoreline there for me. Now the second game was the one we played on Saturday against Bolton Wanderers, where again we played fantastically, but this time we did pick up a point. I think we were the far better side, and again it's a problem. We don't finish our chances, and if we ain't going to finish our chances, we are not going to win anything. Personally, I was really impressed with George Saville. Obviously, I actually managed to miss his goal. Some of you may know this. And what happens is I run the kiosk at Millwall, or one of them. And, well, I was just quickly closing the shop down. And I just hear the tannoy go. And, well, obviously the fans were celebrating. And it said George Saville. I have seen the goal since then. And, well, it was actually a pretty tidy finish from the player that's no doubt possibly been the best player in our season so far, and if he continues playing like this, he is definitely going to be up there for player of the season. Now, in terms of Jordan Archer, I am really disappointed with him for letting that free kick in. Don't get me wrong, it was a great goal by Moraes, the former Millwall man, but Archer basically didn't move in a game where he really had very little to do. And I know that he isn't exactly strong at saving free kicks, and it's a high weakness of his, but still, he's got to have done better there. Standing neutral and doing absolutely nothing is just so disappointing from someone that was so useful to us for last season. I really am frustrated with him. I think he could have done much better. Obviously, it went in and we do get the point, which is better than losing at the end of the day. And as for the Bolton game, a couple of you did predict the scoreline here, and Alfie Ross managed to get the scoreline right. He said that it would end 1-1, and well, congratulations Alfie for that. It really was nice to see someone getting the score prediction right. Obviously I would have preferred us winning, but these things happen. And Joe Holloway also predicted the scoreline being 1 goal off, as he said we would win 1-0. Now tonight we do have a game coming up against Ipswich, where obviously I have a mate called Ben Hicks that used to do YouTube that I could possibly see down the den. Some of you may know him, some of you won't, if you've watched some of those videos with him in. Obviously I think that we're going to go ahead and beat them 1-0. I think it's going to be a fantastic game, and I really hope we can do it. Along with also playing Bristol City at the weekend, I think we're going to get a 2-1 win there away from home. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comment section down below with your scoreline and maybe even the goal scorers. I'll be more than happy to go ahead and have a look at those and see if you can actually get them right. Now we do have 2 more sections remaining in this week's podcast. It has been a fairly short one, and well, this first section is the loan watch, and it is how did 4 of our players do while out on loan at their clubs currently. Well, some of them played, some of them didn't, and well, we're going to start with Harry Smith, someone that I do apologise, I did accidentally leave him off the list. He actually came off at half time for Luke Norris in their 1-1 draw with Exeter City. Obviously, he plays for Swindon. As for Harry Gerlin, he didn't feature for Leatherhead FC as they beat Lowestoft 2-1 at the weekend in the Bostock League Premier. Don't know what that league is? Don't even ask. And if we move up a couple more divisions, we see that Jimmy Abdu played on Saturday for AFC Wimbledon as they lost 1-0 to Shrewsbury Town. Abdu did manage to last till the 73rd minute before being subbed off for Egan. Now our final player out on loan is Jamie Philpott, who currently plays for Woking, and they lost 3-0 to Barrow. Though Philpott didn't start, he did come on in the 53rd minute. At the time they were only 2-0 down. It's safe to say Philpott didn't really have the impact they was looking for. Where are Wool this week in the league table? Well, they currently sit in 17th in the league, which is a fair improvement on the position of 21st where we were last week. Now, they are only on 1 point, so let's not get carried away. We still haven't won a game in the league, and it is very early. We could obviously still go down, but the way we're playing, I really think we will have a great season this year and should no doubt be able to stay in the Championship for at least one more season. So that is all we have time for this week. It's been a very, very short podcast. All I can do is apologise. When Taylor's not here, there aren't two views contrasting and talking about it. Don't go back and forth. So these are genuinely shorter. And obviously, I've added sections to it to make it longer while he's around. And it just means it doesn't go as longer when I'm here on my own. But obviously, if you do want to get your opinions and thoughts across, send an email to brandonprangell@gmail.com if you want to. That's obviously on the screen right now. And have the subject heading Talk the Wool. Also, you could put them in the comments section. Either way, I'll have a look at them. And if there's any that haven't really been talked about before, I'll add them into the podcast for next week. So, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys next week in the next Talk the Wool podcast. But until then, goodbye.